Okay, welcome to Cousin Culture for it's still 2-4. I'm trying to get through all the best pictures before February 24th because that's when the Oscars happen. And then also because of copyright, and these films are a little bit newer, copyright's going to be a little bit harder to work with. So I'm going to be lazy for the next 20 or 30 film. I would see I'm to 1994. 25 films or so. Anyway, so we're up to, so I'm going to show the trailer and clips, but most of it's going to be this, to me talking over the Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. Anyway, we're up to Forrest Gump, which is a movie that is kind of awful, actually. I like Tom Hanks in the movie. He makes Forrest very sympathetic, and he doesn't. It's not a caricature of a dumb person, and he gives Forrest Gump a lot of dignity. And I kind of like the concept of telling a large swath of American history through these sort of eyes of a unusual character, in this case a dumb person. His IQ, you shouldn't use IQ, but someone who is not particularly intelligent. It's a but apart from that thing, I really have a problem with this movie. Excuse me. In that it seems very, very reactionary. Excuse me. The social upheavals of the 60s and 70s, especially around the Vietnam War, because the movie, there's a couple of things that really, really bother me on this point. The biggest one is Jenny, who's the love interest. She's sort of the stand-in for liberalism, or the hippie movement, or the anti-war movement, and she's sort of subtextually punished for doing that. She dies of AIDS after she has Forrest Jr. So like he ends up getting a kid, and he ends up having a good life, but his hippie liberal love interest gets punished subtextually by getting AIDS, and that's like a huge bitter reactionary thing to me. The movie seems particularly angry on that point. It's utterly unearned and everything like that. But the other thing is it goes out of its way to sort of portray give me a second, my cat's being a bitch. Leftists as dysfunctional. So like you randomly, so the one leftist guy you see happens to be a woman beater, and then the Black Panther got people in the movie are utterly banal, utterly just angry all the time, or it's much fairer to like conservative messages. And then the place where this feels the most over the top, where it's sort of mutating liberalism or democratic, how are we going to say it, is in the protest after he comes back from the movie from Vietnam. He ends up literally having his conversation about the war being muted, literally because someone pulls the mics out, so it feels like liberalism isn't having a fair hearing in the film, and so because of that, it feels particularly awful and reactionary to me. And then also on sort of the same token, I actually think this film has some technical issues that's unusual in Best Pictures, because I don't know, I haven't looked, and I don't quite remember off the top of my head at the moment whether or not this is the first Best Picture, but there is extensive use of CGI and other special effects techniques, and basically Forrest is inserted into a lot of archival footage and combination of actors and digital manipulation of various famous figures like this stuff right here, of Lyndon Johnson or John F. Kennedy, where they manipulated the footage and sometimes replaced like just the mouth with CGI. So a lot of that stuff actually doesn't work, and it's really obvious now, and it really hurts the film on sort of a technical level because the special effects basically have aged so poorly that the entire suspension of disbelief around him being inserted into archival footage and actual history is sort of ruined. So if you combine, and then the other sort of thing is there's the other reason why I kind of see the film as sort of reactionary is Forrest Gump, the character, has a lot of homespun conservatism to him. So like that whole so like the most famous phrase in the movie is life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. And that feels very much like a homespun. Like I feel like Sarah Palin should be quoting that, because that's the sort of conservatism in the film that it feels like, and so it ends up being very alienating to me, this film, because it feels utterly strangely angry about the social progress made in the 60s and 70s, and then it absolutely sort of adheres to even when it's not being unfair, it adheres to like trying to have a sort of a neutral point of view, because like a good example of this is he keeps talking about various assassinations of like Lenin, as in John Lennon, as in like the Russian guy, as in like the musician, but also JFK, and then also shots against like Ford. It's always says like, and that poor man got shot. Like he always says it the same exact way, and so like it feels very, very trying to be neutral politically in this sort of Americana, whereas because of that, it ends up sort of muting liberalism more than conservatism. So it feels reactionary because it doesn't. Because it feels like a liberal making a movie trying to be fair but goes too far, so it makes the text actually very reactionary to me. So there's that, and so because of that, it's really hard for me to get into Forrest Gump, and because it's such a it has such a problem, and I really, really, really dislike Jenny getting AIDS. Because of the way in which it's just sort of it's brought up, it's only implied, it's not dealt with very well, it's very much subtextual, like punishment. Anyway, so that's going to be it for Forrest Gump. See you guys in a little bit. Moving on.